The Indiana Fever just did something that nobody thought was possible, and Aliyah Boston's 3 words in the locker room are spreading like wildfire across social media. What she said after their 29-point demolition of Washington wasn't just confidence, it was a declaration that has the entire WNBA on notice. This wasn't supposed to happen, not with 5 key players injured, not with 18 different roster combinations, not with their superstar Caitlin Clark watching from the sidelines. But here's where it gets really interesting. Before we dive into what Boston said that has everyone talking, if you're excited about the Fever's playoff run, smash that like button and comment Playoff Fever below. Trust me, you're going to want to hear every word of this story. The scene in that Washington visitors' locker room was electric. Players were celebrating, coaches were emotional, and right in the middle of it all, Aliyah Boston stood up and delivered 3 words that captured everything this team had been through. We built different. Not we are different. We built different. The emphasis on built wasn't accidental. This team wasn't born with advantages. They weren't handed success. They constructed it piece by piece while everything around them was falling apart. But that wasn't the whole story. What makes Boston's statement so powerful is understanding exactly what this team overcame to get here. When Caitlin Clark went down with her injury after just 13 games, the basketball world wrote Indiana's obituary. Clark wasn't just their best player, she was the face of the franchise, averaging over 16 points and creating opportunities that made everyone around her better. Sophie Cunningham, another fan favorite known for her grit and 3-point shooting, gone with a knee injury. Chloe Bibby, sidelined with her own knee problems. Sydney Colson, out. Ari McDonald, done for the season with a foot injury. 5 core players, 5 reasons why this team should have collapsed. The numbers alone tell a story of chaos. 18 different players have suited up for Indiana this season. Think about that for a second. Most teams go through an entire season with maybe 12 or 13 players seeing meaningful minutes. The Fever had 18. It was like trying to build a house while someone kept stealing your tools and replacing them with different ones. Every time they found a rhythm, another injury would force them to start over. Every time they developed chemistry, someone new would have to learn the system on the fly. What happened next would shock everyone who had written them off. Instead of crumbling, the Fever started playing with a desperation that turned into determination. Stephanie White didn't just coach this team, she transformed them. Her approach was brilliant in its simplicity. She stripped away the complicated plays, focused on fundamentals, and gave every player one clear message. Your number might get called at any moment, so be ready. The result was a team that didn't rely on star power, but on collective toughness. The Washington game itself was a masterclass in resilience turning into dominance. The first half was tight, competitive, exactly what you'd expect from 2 teams fighting for playoff positioning. Washington came out aggressive, forcing Indiana into tough shots and keeping pace offensively. At halftime, nobody would have predicted what was about to happen. The third quarter became a statement, not just a good defensive quarter, but a complete annihilation. The Mystics scored 9 points. 9 in an entire quarter of professional basketball. That's not just good defense, that's suffocating, demoralizing, spirit-breaking defense. Natasha Howard led the charge with 17 points, attacking the rim like someone with something to prove. Every drive looked personal. Every bucket felt like payback for everyone who doubted this team. Aliyah Boston added another double-double with 12 points and 11 rebounds, controlling the paint on both ends like the all-star she is. But here's where it gets really interesting. Ariel Powers came off the bench and dropped 15 points with 6 rebounds and 4 assists. A player most casual fans couldn't name 2 months ago was suddenly looking like a playoff X-factor. The final score, 94-65, doesn't even tell the full story. At one point, Indiana led by 33 points against a team fighting for their own playoff lives. This wasn't just a win, it was a message. And that message was clear. The Indiana Fever aren't just making the playoffs, they're dangerous. But here's what nobody's talking about yet. The psychological impact of what this team accomplished goes beyond basketball. When Boston said, "We built different," she was talking about more than just winning games. She was talking about a mentality that's been forged through adversity most teams never face. Think about the mental toughness required to lose your best player and get better. Think about the focus needed to integrate new teammates every other week and still maintain defensive principles. Think about the leadership required from players like Boston and Howard to keep everyone believing when logic said they should quit. The reaction from around the league has been fascinating to watch. Teams that were looking forward to facing a depleted Indiana squad in the playoffs are suddenly reconsidering. Coaches are watching film of this new-look Fever team and seeing something they didn't expect. A group that doesn't need a superstar to beat you. They'll grind you down with defense, hit you with balanced scoring, and never stop coming. That's a scary combination in a playoff series. Social media exploded after Boston's comments went viral. Fans who had been devastated by Clark's injury suddenly found new hope. The hashtag #BuiltDifferent started trending within hours. Former players and analysts who had dismissed Indiana's chances were forced to eat their words. Even critics had to admit that what this team accomplished defied basketball logic. The timing of this transformation couldn't be more perfect. With the playoffs approaching, Indiana isn't just limping in as an 8 seed happy to be there. They're entering as a team nobody wants to face. A team that's been tested in ways their opponents haven't. A team that knows how to win without their best players. A team that, as Boston perfectly stated, was built different through the fires of adversity. What makes this even more remarkable is the coaching job by Stephanie White. She didn't just manage injuries, she turned them into opportunities. Every new player who came in wasn't seen as a replacement, but as a new weapon. The system became fluid, adaptable, capable of highlighting whatever strengths were available on any given night. White's ability to keep this group focused and motivated when everything was going wrong might be the coaching performance of the year. The individual growth has been stunning too. Aliyah Boston elevated from good player to team leader. Without Clark to defer to, Boston had to become the voice in the locker room and the anchor on the court. She embraced it completely. Her post-game interviews show a confidence and maturity that wasn't always there before. She's not just playing basketball, she's leading a movement. Natasha Howard transformed from role player to go-to scorer when needed. Aerial Powers went from barely getting minutes to being a crucial playoff contributor. Even the players who joined mid-season like Odyssey Sims and Shaw Petty found ways to contribute immediately. This wasn't luck. This was a culture that demanded excellence regardless of circumstances. The defensive improvement deserves special attention. Holding any professional team to 9 points in a quarter is almost unheard of. But this wasn't a fluke. Indiana has been gradually tightening their defense all season, turning what was supposed to be a weakness without their injured perimeter defenders into a strength. They're not just playing good defense, they're playing championship level defense at the perfect time. Looking ahead to the playoffs, this Indiana team presents a unique challenge. How do you game plan for a team that's had 18 different rotations? How do you prepare for a group that's comfortable being uncomfortable? How do you break the spirit of a team that's already survived everything that could break them? The answer is you probably don't, which is why Boston's 3 words carry so much weight. The parallels to championship teams of the past are impossible to ignore. The 2004 Detroit Pistons won without a traditional superstar. The 2014 San Antonio Spurs beat the Miami Heat's Big Three with team basketball. The 2019 Toronto Raptors won after losing their best player to injury earlier in the playoffs. All these teams had one thing in common: they were built different through adversity. But here's the kicker that nobody saw coming. Sources close to the team are saying that this experience has actually made Indiana stronger for next season when Clark returns. Imagine adding a healthy Caitlin Clark to a team that's already learned how to win without her. Imagine Sophie Cunningham coming back to a group that's developed championship level defense. Imagine all those role players who stepped up maintaining their confidence alongside returning stars. That's not just a good team, that's a potential dynasty in the making. The Washington game wasn't just about making the playoffs, it was about announcing that the Indiana Fever are no longer the team you remember from the beginning of the season. There's something entirely new, something forged in the fires of adversity, something that, as Aliyah Boston perfectly captured, was built different, and that should terrify every team they're about to face. If this story fired you up, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss our playoff coverage. Comment below with your predictions for how far this Fever team can go, because after what we just witnessed, anything seems possible for a team that was truly built different.